Hey guys, meteorologist Lindsey Slater here. I'm making sure that the microphone's actually on today. Yesterday I left it off, so I apologize for doing an entire video and then you guys couldn't hear me. And thank you for letting me know that it was off. So that's very helpful for me. All right, so let's talk about what our general pattern is. So we're looking at the 500 millibar level of the atmosphere. And at any point in time, you can literally just Google 500 millibars in feet, and that'll give you an idea. We're looking at 18,000 feet. So 300 millibars is where the jet stream lives. That's about 35,000 feet. So you're kind of getting an idea. Where do we live? We live in the troposphere, which is at basically 1,000 feet. So that's the layer that weather occurs, is that first 1,000 feet of the atmosphere. So we're talking about mid levels here with 500 millibars. That's how I like to talk about weather. 700 millibars is a good way to analyze basically where there's lift in the atmosphere occurring. That's at 10,000 feet. If you look up 300 millibars, you get the 30,000 feet, as I just mentioned, for the jet stream, and 200 millibars is where the jet stream lives when we are talking about the summertime. 850 millibars is a very good way to assess temperature, temperature advection and temperature trends, I guess. That is going to be right around 5,000 feet, right there, as it just popped up on the charts. And there's also a really good chart from NOAA that you can actually look at, constant pressure charts. And it really shows you really good examples of what these charts are used for. So if you want to be super nerdy and look at things that I looked at when I was in school, this is where you can go. But we are specifically looking at the 500 millibar chart. This is a good way for me to assess where there are layers of, like, in the mid levels of the atmosphere, the trends that I'm noticing with high and low pressure systems. So obviously we have our Hurricane Erin right now, which right now you can see it's right there. Latest track is still taking it off the coast, but there is a lot of rip currents and dangerous waves that are happening because of this. We're talking a high risk of rip currents. I mean, literally all the way up the East Coast because of Hurricane Erin. So Erin is still pushing its way over off towards the East Coast. We have a ridge, like a high pressure ridge, kind of sitting right around here. And you can see that ridge because it bumps up basically everything else. So it does, everything's backwards. So it does kind of do this feature right here. I get asked about this a lot. It's my mom's handwriting, just if you're wanting to know. So you can see right here, we have that ridge setting up. So what happens there? We actually end up in more of a meridional pattern with the jet stream. So jet streams can be in a lot of different patterns. Just to give you a little lesson here. So you can have your jet stream. Here's a quick, like, go to what I want to teach y'all. I can't help but teach. So as you can see, this is a meridional pattern. So you have like high over here, you have low over here. So this is where basically storms like to be. They like to ride the jet stream basically like a railroad. So this is a meridional pattern, which means you'll have big fluctuations from coast to coast. You have lower temperatures here, you have warmer temperatures here as air is coming in from the south. Over here, you have air coming in from the northwest, which is where we are sitting right now. So I'm going to delete all of this. I wish I could do it all at once. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. I guess I could just keep clicking. Erase all markups. There we go. Now, sometimes you can have the jet stream be in an omega block pattern, which looks like this. It kind of looks like this symbol omega, like that, where you have low, low, high. These ones can sometimes, we call these blocking patterns. These ones are really difficult to get out of, and it really causes a lot of havoc for the two areas under the coast there. And then you can have a zonal pattern. Now, a zonal pattern, we get a lot in the summertime because the jet's way up in Canada. A zonal pattern is just kind of like, just kind of like very stagnant weather. So at this point, we're, I believe, in more of a zonal / meridional pattern where we have this fluctuation. And that's where we're sitting right now. So at this point, we are likely going to be a little cooler than average for a while through the weekend right here, as you can see. And then we kick out of it a little bit and kind of tap in on the high pressure system a bit. That's in the upper levels, as I mentioned right here. And if you notice when I talked about it being there before, it wasn't actually showing up on the actual map. It was like, I think I was showing right here, and it looks like a low. Yes, you are going to get low pressure stacked in all the levels of the atmosphere, and this is how you sometimes can get very stubborn patterns, but I know that this is a ridge. So watch what happens. You'll see all of a sudden, there it is. See the high pops up? So that's a really good indicator that you know, this is just a model, remember, but you can see that we'll be predominantly under a northwest flow. So that's cooler air coming in from Canada, and it's going to be warmer on the East Coast. It's going to be much cooler on the west, or backwards. It's going to be much warmer on the West Coast and much cooler on the East Coast, at least going into the last week of August. So that's our general pattern. Hurricane wise, that I wanted to highlight. I'm going to show you maybe a little bit of the models. We'll look at the not the GEFS. I don't want that one. We're going to look at the I can look at the Canadian. Sometimes the Canadian can show us some interesting things. I don't think it's that good with hurricane stuff. So yeah, it showcases some stuff going on over here. It also showcases some activity next week Friday. I don't really like to look at I don't mind the European weather model, but I'm going to look at the GFS. You see the difference there? Look at that. You go from a huge blob of rain to nothing. Yes, I tend to favor the GFS more when it comes to long range solutions. So it also has a really good indicator of what's going on in the Atlantic. And it's used more by hurricane forecasters. The Euro isn't bad either, but I think we tend to look at spaghetti models from the GFS. But you can see there is likely going to be another system following Aaron. You can see it right here. So that's Aaron. And then keep your eyes peeled. I'm like pointing at it and you guys can't see. I'll put my mouse over it right here. Watch that little guy turning right into the waters following Aaron. So it's likely, it could be a much smaller but intense. Look how big Aaron is though. I mean, that's huge. Guys, that's big. That's a big, like, width. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of miles. So it does look like the center right there is at 957 millibars. I feel like the record was Typhoon Tip, strongest millibars in a tropical cycle. I feel like it was Typhoon Tip of 1979. I might be wrong. Let's see. Millibars is a strong hurricane. Yeah, anything below basically 920 millibars. I'm just wondering which one was the strongest. So let me look up strongest hurricane ever. Patricia. I don't know if that one had the fast winds. I want to know the millibars. This is gonna kill me. Sorry, I have to look at it and I have to figure it out now. In terms of pressure, Wilma. Oh yeah, yes, Wilma. So I think Typhoon Tip had the strongest wind speeds next to Patricia, but Wilma had the lowest area of low pressure. Yeah, that was bad. 882 millibars. That's pretty low, you guys. And there it is. Actually, I might be wrong. I might be right. I am right. Right here. Typhoon Tip, as I just said, 870 millibars, the most intense tropical cyclone worldwide. US wise, 882 millibars. Okay. I thought I was right. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Typhoon Tip, 1979. Okay. I feel better about my life choices now. All right. So as we, oh, my microphone's still on. I don't want to have that on. So as we look at the latest models here, I mean, Aaron right now is sitting around, I believe it's Cat 3 still at the moment. We're looking at 956 millibars. So it's really losing intensity as it goes into cooler waters. One that follows is right here. Look how much smaller it is. Still large, but compared to Aaron, yeah, it's teeny compared to how big Aaron is right now. And this is like 998 millibars. It looks like it picks up a little intensity there. No, it's 971 millibars. So it does try to pick up some intensity. And then we got to keep watching these areas here. This is where you're going to get hurricane development coming off of basically the Saharan desert, all that warmth and moisture coming off the rainforests there. You get areas of low pressure that develop and then they just continue to intensify in these very, very warm ocean waters. So I can show you, I mean, that water temperature is like bath water. We're talking at least 80 degrees, and that's what it takes for hurricanes to form. Yikes, the Gulf is at 85 degrees. Ugh, yuck. So we can look at these and see any anomalies that start to pop up. As far as any additional tropical systems, I mean, we'll have to keep a close eye on all this convection down to the Gulf as well, because this is now the time of year that starts to pick up. So yeah, actually, I'm noticing right over here, there's a cluster and there's a cluster over here. So yeah, things are starting to pick up. Hurricane season peaks September 10th every year. So we're not even at peak yet, by the way. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about our weather because you didn't just tune in for hurricane stuff, did you? So our weather, we have a cold front on the way Friday night, guys. It's a very wimpy cold front. You see it right here. And it's just a couple of isolated showers, maybe a few thunderstorms in the Northwoods. I just don't see a lot of activity that has me worried about this. Following that, I think we could have a couple of wraparound showers as a low pressure spins over the Hudson. You see this right here. That could be Sunday afternoon. It's not very big or anything, but this is going to signal a temperature change for us. If we look at surface temps following this, I mean, we're talking temps in the upper 60s and low 70s going into Sunday. So yeah, it is going to be cooler for a few days. And as I look at the GFS, which goes out further, you can see we stay and we could have some overnight lows in the 40s going into Sunday night. inland. I don't think that's going to happen near the lakefront. But yeah, the lakefront's much warmer here. So yeah, it is going to feel a little bit like fall for the first half of the week until we start to get under that ridge. And then we start to warm up yet again. You see with temperatures back in those mid and upper 70s, which is still below average for this time of the year. But all right, that is all I have for you today. If you guys have questions, as always, just send me a message. Otherwise, you have a wonderful rest of your day.